What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. Hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to be talking to you about the new album from the band Loma Prieta, entitled Self-Portrait. This is released on Deathwish Inc. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they are based out of San Francisco, California, and honestly, I would consider this band to be a very hard band to pinpoint when it comes to describing their sound, because they're one of those hardcore bands that incorporate so many musical influences into their sound. It's very unique. This is a band that incorporates many different styles like punk rock, post-hardcore, power violence, and most notably screamo. I don't really get into a lot of bands of the legitimate screamo style, but Loma Prieta are one of those bands that I could classify into that sort of style. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, when I talk about screamo, I'm not talking about the style that constantly gets bastardized and misinterpreted by music listeners. I'm talking about the real deal kind of stuff. I mean, Orchid, Page 99, Seisha, Circle Takes the Square, those kind of influential sort of bands. And I would consider Loma Prieta to be another one of those kind of bands to bring forward that style really, really well. It's not normally a genre of music I listen to a lot, but I listen to a lot of Loma Prieta, and they're one of my favorites of the style. This has been a band that has been having somewhat of a DIY ethic over the years, putting out a lot of their own releases. One of my favorites being 2010's Life Less. Just a really hard-hitting sort of record when it came to the overall vocals, musical stylings, and just them doing their style very well. But then in 2012, I believe they reached a real peak with an album like IV. It was one of the heaviest releases from that music style I had ever heard. The drumming, the vocals, the riff work, the noisy aspects of it. It was really one of the heaviest things I'd ever heard this band do, and it really impressed me a lot. It only made me more interested to know what this band was going to do and how things were going to pan out over the years. And now we have a brand new full-length from Loma Prieta entitled Self-Portrait. This is their 5th full-length. It's 10 tracks, and it clocks in at around 31 minutes in length. And after listening to this album a lot, I can easily tell that this is a far more different record than IV. This seems to be a lot more scaled back and a lot more on the melodic, emotional side of things. And I think with a record like Self-Portrait, they take those emotions and they form it into a really beautifully done sort of record here. Musically, it's what you would expect from a Loma Prieta record. There's going to be a lot of emphasis on very solid riffs and chords being done here. Take tracks like Black Square and Roadside Cross, some of the shorter tracks that are on this record. You get a lot of emotion and power when it comes to the guitar riffs on here. I think they're very beautifully played, very aggressive, once again pointing out to the fact that things are a lot more melodic this time around, and I really think that the way that the guitar playing is being handled on those certain songs are really nice. Moving on to some of the more lengthier tracks like Nostalgia, it's really awesome to hear the kind of chord progressions and ideas being represented on those songs. The bass guitar is just as effective. It's very audible and clear, very much an important factor to this overall production and mixing style. I really enjoy how things are being done with this bass guitar, and it lends a really wonderful balance to it, to the length of this record. And I should also mention the fact that this is a band that knows how to create a good paced record. It's not too long or too short. Of course, IV was a very short record, but things got done very well in that amount of time, and the same can be said for Self-Portrait. When it comes to the drumming is just as frantic and as emotional as it was on the previous record. More of a drum performance centered around hardcore punk this time around. Really good drum stylings, good patterns, good pace. I love the way this drummer handles his business here, especially moving when it comes to the lengthier sort of songs that really run around the 4 to 6 minute length. You have the closing track Satellite, which is about 6 minutes in length, but I think he handles the drum work on there very well here. And when it comes to the vocals, you're going to get a lot more vocal diversity here than you did on the previous record. Pretty much the same sort of aggressive, shouted, sort of screamed vocal styles being represented on here, but then you get some really well thought out singing going on here. You get a lot of melodic singing going on in certain tracks, like on the going back to the song Nostalgia. Just the way the singing is on that song gives a lot of impressions of what kind of story is being told here on this record. I really enjoy the singing aspects of this record. Of course, it merges itself quite nicely when it comes to the screamed, sort of shouted vocals on here. But the singing on here is a nice little touch too. Adds a little bit more diversity going this time around. So overall, this is another really solid album by Loma Prieta. I like the direction that they took with this album. I don't know if I like this album a lot more than I did IV, because I thought IV was just very crushing for that style of record. This album is a completely different sort of beast, but I applaud this band for wanting to do something a little different and create a record that's just very solid and enjoyable. So if you're into what Loma Prieta have put out in the past, you will find something to enjoy with Self-Portrait. If you're into hardcore punk or legitimate screamo, you should definitely check out Loma Prieta. I think it's worth checking out. Even if you're not into that sort of style, it's worth getting an ear to. If not, don't worry about it. You have better music to listen to anyway. So if I had to pick any favorite tracks, I would definitely have to say Black Square, Roadside Cross, More Perfect, Nostalgia, and Never Remember. Just some really solid tracks there. So if I had to pick, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you some links in the description box as to how you can get a hold of this album and listen to it. I will link you to the Deathwish Inc. Bandcamp, where you can stream this album in its entirety, hear it for yourself, and be your own judge as to whether you think it's worthy of being purchased or not. I should say Loma Prieta's Bandcamp, to be specific. You can buy it digitally, and it is also available on CD and 12-inch vinyl, so pick your poison to whichever version you want to get. So, again, the album is Self-Portrait by Loma Prieta. This is released on Deathwish Inc. Go check it out. And for a score, I'm going to give this a pretty solid 8 out of 10. Really solid screamo and hardcore if you're into that sort of stuff. So I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks all for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. Until the next time, Armijo out.